Hi, my name is Daniel Kerridge, and this is a quick run through of my game Golf. As you can see, we're on the menu here. If you hit play, there's two buttons that you can hit. The first one leads you to the first two levels, which are more like a tutorial on how to play the level, and then the harder level is what I've spent the most time in, and is what probably the main game of this game. But I'll show off the starter levels just because these lead into the harder level, and I can also just explain to you how this game works. So for the elevator pitch of this game, it is what if Doom, or the gameplay of Doom, were to meet the rules of golf. So as you can see, it's a first person shooter with some demons running around, and you have a gun, and there's a massive golf hole here, and every time you shoot an enemy, they'll get knocked back, and the idea is that you need to knock them into the hole with as little shots as possible. Every time you hit an enemy, their score will go up. As you can see, I'm now on 2 with the blue guy, and every time he hits me, my score goes up. Once you knocked all the enemies in the hole, you'll get a final score, and that's pretty much like the end of the level. Now these first two levels don't have that, they're just a quick way to demonstrate the mechanics of this game. So if I just give this guy a little nudge into the hole, there we go, he gets knocked in, and that's the first start level beat. For the next level, this is teaching you the shooting guy. So this guy's going to start shooting at me, so you want to try and avoid that. If you get shot, it's the same as getting hit, so like so, and he's going to try and hide behind cover. We could just shoot him this way into the hole, like so, and start level 2's beat. This final level is what I've spent the most time in. So this one, instead of just having one enemy, there's now 5, and they're all going to try and start going for you. As you see, this guy here is shooting at me already. So you've got to knock all these enemies into the hole as little shots as possible. And also another thing to help you is the different guns. So right now I've got a red gun. This is your most furthest knockback. So if I were to shoot this guy, as you can see, I overshot the hole. That's not a good thing. But if I were to change the gun around to blue, this shoots a medium blast. So he gets shot a little bit less further. And then finally your green one, which will shoot the least furthest. So the green one's more like your putter, if you were in golf terms, and your red one's like your driver. So you want to see here, and then I might want to try and go for blue, and then hopefully go for green here. Hopefully knock him into the hole, like so. Now there is no death in this game. Every time you get hit, your point gets added onto the top left score, and that gets added onto your overall score at the end. So obviously you don't want to get hit because that gives you a worse score. If you jump into lava, which is like the goal hole, you'll just get blasted up in the air with a little bit of smoke. There's a little bit of a effect. So there's now a guy up here that we can find, so I can shoot him down with the driver. And now that he's seen me, he's going to start running after me. So if I were to stand over here, as you can see, he's now making his way over to find me. He's going to, if I didn't get knocked down. Another thing in this game is a dash mechanic that you can use to just quickly evade enemies if you want to. But let me just try and knock this guy into the hole. Now this guy up here who's shooting me, I can knock him down. If I'm getting really annoyed by him, I could say, okay, he's annoying me, and then I can try and find a way to shoot him down from here, like so. As you see, he's got knocked down, and he's going to wait there for a little bit, and then he's going to start making his way back to this perch, as you can see. Now you can take advantage of this and try to shoot him into the hole from here, as so. But another thing I want to mention is that when he's up here, you actually have a perfect hole in one shot if you can try and get past him, behind him, and shoot him with a green gun. I will show that off later, but for now I'm just going to try and knock all the rest of the enemies into the hole and show you what happens once you beat them. So there's a guy here, let's try and get his attention. There we go. Oh, I got knocked me around. Try to jump down here. Another way you can do this is by knocking the enemies, getting near the hole. Now the enemies are faster than the players, so you got to be careful for that. You can't just outrun them, you've got to try to maneuver around them. There we go, knocked him to the hole. That guy was a power of 6, I got him into 2, which is pretty good. And the final one I've not really seen yet, this green one. If I just knock him around, that might have sent him a little bit too far. Wait for him to come chase me down here. Is he going to come through here? Yeah, he is. And then I'm going to knock him in, like so. Once you knocked all the enemies in, you'll get an overall score, and you'll compare it to the par. So as you can see, I was 2 above par, which is not that good. But then if you do beat par, you can try and go for a better score. And the idea of this game is that throughout the game, as you go to harder and harder levels, there'll be harder AI and harder courses that you have to try and knock in and try and beat below par. And then when you hit back to the menu, you get back to the menu. There's the controls that tell you how to play the controls and how to play the game. And then finally, if you just want to beat your score again, you can go to the harder level like so and try again. There's also a pause button, just to, if you need to take a quick break or return to the menu or just quit. Final thing I want to mention is just the show off the hole-in-one thing, so I'll cut back to that now. So now that the enemy's up there, like I did before, you can either shoot him down if he's annoying you, or you can try to risk it, which I wanted to go for a more risk and rewards with this guy. So if you leave him up there and you try to sneak past him, and you get your green gun ready, you can actually shoot him in with just one shot, like so. And that's like that, he's knocked in a hole in one. So that's what I want to try and do with like some of these guys is like go for if they're annoying you, you can easily just like shoot them around and make sure they're not annoying you or knock them around. Or you can try and tempt fate or risk it all and try to get hole in ones. So that's the aim of this game. And I'm just going to show you just a little bit of the programming, art style, and the design that went into it. So just talking a bit about the coding, start off with is the enemy. I used a tutorial to use to make a behavior tree to make the enemy chase after you. As you can see here, how the behavior tree works is that the enemy will always go down this path here where he will follow a patrol route until he notices you. Then he will increase his speed, start chasing after you, and then once he attacks you, he'll wait a little bit and then continue, then go back to here. So that's how the behavior tree works for the basic enemy. So how the knockback works in this game is that when the projectile overlaps with the enemy's hitbox, it'll add 1 to their point, as you see here, and play like a little sound effect. And then to knock back the enemy, I got the velocity of the projectile and then times it to launch the enemy in the opposite direction. For the shooting AI, there was another video that I was going to watch, but after watching it, I decided that it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I just made a very basic enemy, taking it from the regular guys, and just making a way where he would always look at the player, no matter where they were, and then he would spawn a projectile in front of him, and the projectile will have velocity, so that would always shoot towards the player. And just like the knockback before, when the projectile hits the player, they'll calculate the velocity of the projectile and then knock the player back the certain distance. For the switching of guns, I used another tutorial. This is just showing you how I got it to work by just having a variable that every time I scroll the mouse wheel, it'll go up or down by 1, and then depending on what that number is, it will equip the right gun. So if it was like the number of red, it will equip the red gun, number of blue, it will do the blue gun, and if it's the number of green, it'll do the green one, then go back around. And then to make it shoot projectiles, since I was knocking enemies back with velocity, I decided to just make 3 different projectiles that have 3 different velocities. So instead of having 3 projectiles that do different amounts of knockback, what it basically is the red one is the fastest projectile and the green one is the slowest. So since if the green one hits, it won't times as much as compared to the red one, and that's how I got the different knockbacks to work. Finally, programming the hole and the scores. To get the scores working, it's pretty much simple. You can see it better here, where once the one of the projectiles hits the player, the point will go up by 1. It'll play a sound and stuff like that. And then every different enemy is bounded by a different text box in the score menu. So as you see here, this is just the third hole is a different score. And then to make the whole work is I got all the enemies and I gave them a tag of enemy, just so I could have different effects if the enemy jumped in the hole or if the player. And then what I got to do is I got the amount of enemies that were named tag or amount of E here, and every time one would fall in, it would -1, and if that ever equaled 0, then it would end the game. For the shader, I had this in my game because I knew that the art part was going to be the weakest point of my game, so I thought that if I added this cool toony outliner shader, it would help my game stand out and help the art department, or the art style of my game. As for the models, I took them from the Unreal Engine store. Actually, the trees and the rocks and all that were from Stylized Forest. I did also use these models to help make my bridges and staircases, just to stylize my game a little bit more. And as for the houses, I got them from the modular house pack. I used one of the houses just straight up, as you can see there. The smaller one is just one of the houses from the pack. As for the big house, this pack had a bunch of assets that you could use to make your own house, so I decided to make this like big clubhouse to also fit my game. As for all the words in my game, I found a website that was mimicking the Pizza Tower font, which I really liked, so I decided to use that for all the words in my game. But for the enemies, I created them all myself and animated them by myself as well. Even at the very start of this project, my elevator pitch was always the gameplay of Doom mixed with the rules of golf, because I enjoyed that contradiction of the fast-paced Doom and the slow-paced golf. But at the start of this game, the original idea was to have the player try to shoot a golf ball into the hole with a bunch of enemies trying to stop you. But after I played it myself, I found it wasn't that fun, so I decided to change up the rules slightly and make all the enemies the golf balls that you had to shoot into the hole. I had a playtest halfway through my game where I got a bunch of helpful advice that I used to help improve my game. This included someone not knowing where the goal hole was, so I added a massive pointing arrow. Someone who got the shooting guy stuck as he wasn't actually moving back then, so I decided to make him move by using notes and making him move to a note. I also added a ring around the hole and a bunch of other things that really helped improve my game. The final thing I want to talk about is the level design. Originally, I was going to have just one level, which is the biggest one, which is the one I've spent the most time in. But one of the playtesters said I should probably go for a few more just to show off the mechanic and try to teach and ease the player into this game, which is why I made the first 2 starter levels. But I also wanted to make them feel like an actual world, so I put them all in the same level, just so the player can actually see them, and it makes it feel like this is an actual world. But thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy playing golf.